Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Robert Kiyosaki's definition of the two. Robert Kiyosaki is the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is probably one of the most, if not the most, successful financial book of all time. And I agree that basically he says that an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. And so yeah, people always talk about their home being an asset, but everybody that I know is spending money on their home, not making money on their home. If you've got a rental property, then that's making you money. That's putting money in your pocket. But your own home is really, really in the liability category. It's not making you money. I mean, sure, it's nice that the value goes up and you feel like you're making money, but you never actually see that. And people already, the last number of years in the bubble, we saw the price that people pay when they use their home as a credit card, and they pull money out to buy a boat, they pull money out to go on vacation, and that's not good, financial management either. So personal home is definitely a liability. Anything you can rent out, though, assets that, or yeah, anything that just is going to put money in your pocket consistently would be an asset.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome. Hey, I had a
okay,
quick
go ahead,
question
Kim.
for you about, yeah, sorry to cut you off. I do have a question. My grandfather, he worked for Sears for a very long time, and when he started out, Sears was paying his wage, and then they paid him double into stocks. And so at the age of retirement, he had quite a lot of money in there. And, he's told to diversify and everything like that. But over the last few years, maybe, 5, 7 years, he's lost a substantial amount of money. And I try to talk to him about, getting out of the stock market or whatever. I just wanted to get your opinion on the stock market, any investment things, if you have any input on gold, or just your opinion, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a lot of opinions on all that. So I don't have a dime in the stock market. I think the stock market now. Well, let me say this. I also agree with Robert Kiyosaki, and he says that diversification is for the ignorant. Diversification is a great idea if you have no clue what you're doing, because you spread your risk over a ton of different things, and you just kind of hope that something goes up and that compensates for the stuff to go down. But if you actually uh, really educate yourself on a certain area, or you are working closely with somebody that really educates themselves in a certain area, then diversification doesn't make sense, because you're just spreading, your resources over all these different things. Certainly, there's nobody that people aren't in mutual funds, and it's not like they're an expert on all of these different companies. I mean, like the average person that has their pension in a bunch of mutual funds, they have no clue the hundreds of different companies that their money is in. They don't have any idea what's going on with those companies. They're not paying it. They're just hoping that the economy gets better. They're just crossing their fingers and just hoping that Congress does something that's going to help them out, or the Federal Reserve keeps printing money and keeps the stock market artificially inflated, and just totally leaving things to chance. So there are some people that do very let's see, very focused things within the stock market, certain types of options trading and things like that, where people are paying very, very close attention. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're very well educated, and they put a lot of time into it. And if you're going to be doing something like that, then sure, you can make great money in the stock market. But if you're the average person that just is shoving money into a retirement account and just investing in mutual funds, you're completely leaving your wealth up to chance. You're leaving it up to the government. You're leaving it up to who knows what. And in my personal opinion, the stock market is very heavily inflated right now. There's a great book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad's Prophecy that talks about very real reasons why it's a terrible idea to be in the stock market right now, and why there's sort of this perfect storm of forces that are going to have a huge downward pressure on the stock market in the coming years. And that book was written like 10 years ago, and those forces are just as real today, and even more so. There's additional negative forces. So there's a lot of reason to believe that the stock market is a bad long-term play right now. Gold and silver, I'm a huge believer in, gold and silver is basically a bet against inflation. Well, and I won't get too specific here, but I'll try to just run through it real quickly. The reason that gold and silver are going up is not because the value of gold and silver are going up, it's because the value of the dollar is going down. And a lot of people don't understand that. But the reason the value of the dollar goes down is because we're increasing the money supply. The Federal Reserve is printing more money. Well, they just made, a couple months ago, said, yep, we're going to guarantee that we're going to just print a certain amount of money, this X many, billions of dollars every single month. And I just was reading today that that's probably going to go up at the beginning of this year. So they're basically saying, we promise to print X amount of dollars per month. That's basically saying we're guaranteeing that gold and silver are going to go up in value, because we're guaranteeing that the dollar is going to go down in value, and we're just going to keep on doing this until the economy gets better. But it puts us in a big rock in the hard place. It's like, to me, printing money is like chemotherapy. It's like you're injecting poison into the body, and you're hoping the poison kills the cancer before it kills the entire patient. And that's essentially what printing money is to our economy. We're hoping that printing the money inflates the economy and gets growth going before we completely destroy the currency and destroy the whole value of the currency. But
yeah, good point.
Anyway, so we could talk a lot about that. And then the last thing is real estate. And I mean, real estate is what we do. We run a private investment firm and do real estate investment. So I'm very big on buying real estate today because there's a lot of really unique things about the timing that we're in with real estate. But specifically, I'm not even necessarily the value of real estate may go up and it may go down in the next 5 or 10 years. But what's unique, but we buy for cash flow, and if people are buying for cash flow, then it doesn't matter if the value goes up or the value goes down. We're in this really unique position right now where if you're buying real estate for cash flow, and then if the value goes up, great, you can sell. If the value goes down, you don't care because you're collecting your cash flow every month. And it's a really unique timing that we're in right now where the cash flow is phenomenal.
So what have you done to get into that market? I mean, I heard Robert Kiyosaki in an interview once say, he interviewed and they asked him, what should the average investor do? And he just laughed and said, don't be average. So
yeah, good answer.
What have you done to not be average, as he said, to get into the real estate market?
I've spent lots of money and I've put lots of hours into it. Over the last 10 years, I've probably spent 50 grand on real estate education, on seminars that I've gone to, on programs that I've bought, the CD audio programs that I've bought, all that. I've probably spent close to 50 grand on education alone. And then I've put in a lot of hours going to these seminars, listening to these programs, meeting other real estate investors, and then eventually actually jumping in and doing my own investing. And then now we feel we know this market extremely well. We've got our strategy nailed down, and so our decision was to start a private investment firm where we now allow other people to invest with us. And so, but it started out just us doing kind of our own investing. And the fun thing about real estate, if you're kind of just like getting started in it, it's definitely time intensive to learn it because there's a lot to learn. But the fun thing about real estate is there's 100 ways to attack it. There's so many different ways to make money in real estate, and there's lots of ways to make money even if you don't have any. If all you've got is time to put into it, but you don't have much money, there's ways that you can get started, and you could. Well, I won't get into all the details, but there's just lots of different ways to bring value to the table in real estate and make money as an investor, as a realtor, as somebody who's kind of like a bird dog, where you're out looking for good deals to bring to investors, and then you make enough money doing that so you can actually do your first investment. Or there's all sorts of different things that you can do to kind of get started and learn the ropes.
So where would you recommend someone go to get that financial education? Let's say someone wants to rent out properties but doesn't have really any cash to do that, to put down payments on. What would you recommend they go educate themselves with to find out how to do that?
Well, you know, there's not necessarily a good, like one particularly good program that comes to mind. Like a certain audio program or seminar series or anything. Because you didn't pay a lot of money for that. If you don't have money to buy a rental, wouldn't necessarily suggest that people spend a ton of money on the education. The best thing that they could probably do is a lot of cities have real estate investment associations that are oftentimes free groups or groups that you can join for a fee, where they might meet monthly, and there's real estate investors that are attending these. Now, it depends on your city. Sometimes you have a lot of wannabe real estate investors that it's a bunch of people where nobody's making any money, but they're all getting together to talk about real estate. None of them really know anything, but they're all hoping to learn. They all want to learn, but there's nobody in there with any actual real experience. So, and then in some cities, you've got a good number of people that have real experience at these real estate investor associations. So you got to find a good group, but really trying to find a mentor, trying to find somebody that's making money doing it, and you know for sure that they are making money, and then find a way that you can bring value to them, which might mean that you're working for free, initially, but you might be doing some of the grunt work. You might be out like putting signs on street corners, or you might be out, who knows what you can do for them for free, so that they will mentor you and you can learn the ropes, and then maybe you put in enough work to where they kind of cut you in on the deal, not because you put any money in, but you put in a lot of time, so they can kind of cut you in a little bit, and then you can kind of start to make some money, and then you can start doing your own deals. But finding a mentor that can teach you is really, really important.
Awesome.
Great, Pat.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. Thanks for letting us pick your brain, and hopefully we can talk soon more about this and more entrepreneur stuff that you've come across.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you guys for having me, and thanks for putting together, some great content that you guys have on the website here for people to share in. I think it's awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Pat. And if anyone's out there wants to share any input on how to become more independent, just go to the website unleashindependence.com and study, practice, teach.
unleashindependence.com